now I have a better opportunity to share not only my music, but to help other people. That's the gift inside of this.
Welcome to Time to Discuss. Today I have Glenda Benevides, and it's time to discuss what it's like to be a Grammy nominated musician. Glenda, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's really, really kind of you to reach out and want to talk.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a very strong music background. So for me, speaking with someone that has Grammy nominated attached to oneself, I just think that is awesome. so my show is all about careers and finding out how people can get to where my guests are. So let's talk about your story. How did you get to be where you are? Let's talk about your music. Do you have education in music? Did you just learn it from family and friends? Take us as far back as you want to go. How did you get to where you are now?
Well, in 1812, when I started, that's what it feels like. No, I think that I was fortunate. I've been pretty awake most of my life. So the early years, I was just naturally gravitated to music. And I wasn't really aware of it. I just went, oh, I'll play that or I'll do that, right? And then I realized I could sing, and then I just kept singing. And I found myself, well, now I'm in this swing choir. Now I'm in this. Oh, and I got to do the, like I just kept moving up, just kept doing what I felt natural, what I loved to do. And I just found myself being successful at it. And so, as a young person, you kind of go, well, I like that. I enjoy that. And I'm successful at it. I should just do that, So that's really kind of the short of the journey of it. And then I remember there was a moment I think I was just getting ready to go into high school, and I took a summer job. And in the summer job, I was a waitress. And I remember going to there was an entrance for like the bar area, and I had to get drinks and stuff like that. And, at 16, you can't go into the bar. And I saw this band setting up, and I was like, oh, I want to be in a band. I was like, oh, not just swing choir or choirs. I want to be in a band, And I was watching them set up, and then I kept coming back and forth, and there was a song on the radio that they had playing, or the jukebox or whatever it was at the time in that bar area while they were setting up. I thought, I'm gonna sing really loud, and they're gonna hear me. And sure enough, they did. I sang really loud along with, and the bass player goes, that girl can sing. Next thing I know, they introduced themselves, and then I had an opportunity to audition for them. And I was so excited and so nervous, and we had to ask my mom and dad, and like it was crazy. And I went and auditioned, and I did really well, and I got in the band. And about a month into the band, I was not able to come in on time. Like I knew all the pop songs and everything like that, but I wasn't coming in at the right time, right? Because you've got verse, chorus, and then there's a solo happening, and everything has a measure, either 4 bars or 8 bars, right? I had no idea. I did not come from that world. I don't know why. I just didn't know how to do that, because I didn't have official proper, training or anything. And so one of the guitar player, which I thought was really funny, he wanted to fire me. He was like, no. And he was from like North Texas State. He was like a jazz guy, super trained, really fabulous player. And the piano player said, no, we're not going to fire her. We're going to find out what's wrong. Like, why can't she come in? And so they actually, the keyboard player, which is still a really good friend of mine to this day, which I love, his name was Robin Blumenstein. And Robin figured out that I couldn't count, that I didn't understand that. And so Mike, the one that wanted to fire me, the guitar player, he sat down with me. We put the record on. That was back in the day. We put the record on, and he taught me how to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? And he goes, and I'm listening to this going, oh my God, how am I going to sing if I'm counting this, right? And I knew I needed it, and I was so challenged by that. And Mike said, it's okay, Glenn. One day you'll feel 8. you'll feel 16. You'll feel it and you'll come in, and you'll know how to count, right? And that's just in 4/4. Okay. So anyway, so that's kind of the little story with that. And thus my career started at 16, and I had to, I was playing on stages in bars, when I was really young. And, it was the time where you have to go sit out in the hallway, at the break, you can't be in the bar.
Earlier you talked about like having the successes,
Yeah.
successes as a kid, essentially with music.
Yeah.
Aside from this moment, which is an awesome story, I'm going to add. Aside
Yeah.
from this moment, were there any other successes prior to that that kind of gave you the confidence to kind of then sing out to them in the moment?
That's a really great question. I had such support with my family. And again, I feel really blessed that that's true because a lot of people don't have that. And they always just went, we love what you, yeah, just do it. Like they weren't like, when are you going to get a real job? When are you going to go to college? None of that. If anything, I was going, I want to go to college, and go, we can't afford it. Go away. Um, and I just continued on. So I was always like, one thing led to another. I got in one band, next band, that type of thing. And I was touring. I traveled all over the US. And my first trip out of the country was actually Japan. And I went there, and then it was Taiwan and Korea, and on and on and on. But I just kept one foot in front of the other, and I just never stopped to go, I can't do that, or um, it was just, I want to do that. I don't know how to do that, and so I'll just keep doing that. That's kind of how that works.
I like that. I absolutely love that. I was talking with Lauren Alice early in 2024, and she was
Mm,
talking about the idea of raising her hand and saying I can do this,
hmm
and kind of what you're saying kind of reminded me of that. The idea of like putting yourself out there, and it's like what, no, I can do this, and you take that chance and you gamble on yourself, and I absolutely love that.
And it's really about personal evolution, right? It's about evolving yourself as a human being, as an artist. How do I wake up? How do I stay conscious? How do I, who am I? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And it changes as life goes on. And the successes are also married to what you would consider the possibilities of failure. And it's just usually a judgment call.
That reminds me. I remember hearing something similar about that. When weighing different decisions.
Yeah.
Does how much, if this goes in the positive, how much of that is outweighs if it goes in the negative? How much do you stand to gain versus how much you stand to lose?
Exactly. Yeah, stepping into your own personal courage and bravery.
Let's talk about location in 2024, because that's when we're recording this. In 2024, how important is it for someone that is an aspiring musician to be in a large city like Nashville, Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia? How important is that? Or with the interconnected world, it doesn't really matter anymore.
Great question. I think it depends on the personality. It really does. There are some people that are extremely shy and introverts, and there are people that are extroverts. And I think you kind of have to feel it out for yourself. Where are your goals? What do you want to do? If you are playing music and you want to play out more, yeah, a bigger city is probably better. Doesn't mean you can't perform in a small town or a small city. I would say, just get the experience. Whatever you're doing, just get the experience. If it's in a coffee shop, I don't care. If it's in a bar, I don't care. It's like, do it, do it, do it. I played to 2 people, I played to 10,000 people. So there are different modalities, there's different ways of interacting, but you always start with you. You always start with, I just got to get out there. I gotta have that experience. I gotta have that connection. And I have to see who I am in the midst of positive things and negative things, because I've had that too. And how do you handle it? How do you handle that? I can think of 2 situations. One was the first time I was ever on stage at like 16. My very first song, I was very nervous. I had to play an instrument actually in the band. So I played keyboards a little bit. And I came up to do my song, and I was a fairly large chested young girl. And we were playing a pretty rough bar. And I get yelled out, big tits. And that shattered my 16-year-old girl because I wanted people to know me and look at me for my talent and my artistry, not for my boobs, you know? So that was a challenging one, and I had to overcome that and get back up, get back on the horse, do it again, you know, and try to mitigate that, and also, you know, take care of yourself and resolve how that made you feel. You know, you have to resolve it. You can't just stuff it and leave it for another day or have a cocktail to stuff that down. You know, you just can't do that. The other situation was having a negative experience while I was on stage, if I may. Um, I was probably 21, hot-headed, full of myself, having a good time, very, very particular. Let's just put it that way. So, and to me, respect was like a really important thing. Well, when you're in a bar and you're on stage, a lot of times people will put their coats on the stage, they'll put their cocktails on the stage, and it'll make you really mad, especially if I'm like when I was playing percussion, they would grab my stuff and I just did not have patience for that. I won't go into any more of the story, but that was for me, that was infuriating. You know, like, do not touch my stuff. I do not come to your office, walk into your office, sit on your desk, put my coffee on your desk, don't use a coaster. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing. It's like, that's my office. You know, why are you doing that? Because they're drunk and they don't think about it. They don't care. You know what I mean? But anyway, so those were some of the short little trials
I
as a
absolutely love
singer.
those. I love stories like that because it gives people a glimpse of what it's really like, the different things you can really experience when you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. So I absolutely love
Yeah.
that. And the first one was particularly interesting. So I remember several years ago at this point, some company, I don't remember who it was, but it was a beauty product. I remember that. But there was this very push towards marketing with women of different body types and accepting of women of different body types. And, you know, they're not all pencil thin, you know?
Right.
So, and what you said kind of made me think of that. How important is it to have that stereotypical look, that, you know, that very pristine body type in the
Right.
music industry? Is that really important, you think? Is it important if you want to be like a number one pop star, but not necessarily for anyone else? What's been your experience like from that perspective?
I love these questions. These are so good. So, my opinion is there's levels to the music industry. Okay. Being inside, I'm a recording academy voting member. So being inside of that little private, you know, group, you know, of 20,000 people, um, you find out a lot of things, and there's a lot of things they don't let you know about. So if I always say, just be you. And what does that mean? What does that look like? If your wellness says you need to lose weight, you should lose weight because you need to be well. You're going to be a diabetic, you're too fat because of this or that or whatever, not because of I'm trying to fit myself into a mold. And yes, I would say probably in the last 5 years, being big everything has been okay in most of the entertainment industry, which on some levels, yay, it's like, oh, but you're still looking at J Lo, you're still looking at Beyonce, but boom, those ladies are fit. They're trimmer, they look fit, that type of thing. But and that's the upper echelon. Those are the big money makers. They're the ones that are be selling products. Those are the ones that are like really, really hustling for an industry, not for an art, not for a creation or creativity. There may be some of that, but it's not always that. It's, they've got producers, they've got songwriters, they've got things. They may ante in on a few words and get songwriting credit. I don't know. But I look at it totally from a different way. And I would say, really, 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 if you're an artist of any type, get quiet, know you, decide who you are and how you want to look. You know, if you feel okay with big everything, go for it. There's a place for you. There's a place for all of us in our own creation and our own design. But don't try to cram yourself into some model that's not going to work for you.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that. Your perspective on that, giving us that view from the other side, so to speak. Really, really cool. And I'm also glad to hear that there's more of a level of equality with that. So that's really, really cool. Switching gears slightly, I was speaking with Erica Silverman. She is a New York Times bestseller. And during the conversation, we talked about, that moment when she was notified that she was a New York Times bestseller and what that was like. So I want to kind of send that your way as well. When you found out that you were Grammy nominated, what was that actually like for you?
Oh my God. I'll tell you the story. So on November 8th, we get to know who is nominated, right? So that's the next step. And so they usually televise it or whatever, and we can watch or whatever. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to sit through all that. So I thought, I'm just going to jump on and then look at the list, right? So I get in the list and I go to my categories and I go, oh, I didn't get it. The next category for me, no, I didn't get it. Third category, no, I didn't get it. And then I went, okay. So my collaboration with Antonio Vergara, and he had reached out to me prior in like July and said, "Hey, I'm doing this project. Do you want to be on it?" And I said, "Of course." And I sent him my vocal and everything, and I designed the not only sang it, but I designed the melody. So he loved it. He said he cried because I was like, "Oh, I'll just re-sing it for you." I wasn't feeling very well that day. He's like, "No, it's amazing." And I'm like, "Okay." So he finishes this album. Then I get to the contemporary blues, contemporary blues, best contemporary blues album nomination category, right? And I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, I'm on 5. The Fury. And I'm like, oh my God. At first I was shocked. I was stunned. So I went from no, no, no to oh my God. Yeah, pretty phenomenal. It was amazing. Just I was shocked and I was like dazed, and then I didn't really believe it, and then it didn't seem very special, and then I felt like a fraud, and then I've just gone through the gamut with that, and it's been crazy, like, and then doors just boom start swinging open. That's the interesting thing about this. And I knew, I'd said to myself, like, you know last year I said, all I need is a nomination. I don't care if I get a Grammy, I just need a nomination. And that was my first goal. um and the beautiful thing about that is that, a, you're recognized, and that's so important, that you're recognized by your peers, you know because they see you and they see your work, and you're getting congratulated on the hard work that you've done, or the perseverance that you've had, and being able to play inside the game. So I think that was the biggest takeaway. And now I have a better opportunity to share not only my music, but to help other people. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the gift inside of this. So yay team. I would say yay team, because it's all of us. It's for all of us.
That is really, really cool. Glenda, I really love everything you're saying. You're very humble. And I really, really like that. That is just so, so amazing in this world. We have so many people are so in it for themselves. And to have what you're saying is just really, really awesome. Very refreshing.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's very vapid. If people are just in it for themselves, it's like, oh, you're sad and lonely, because it really is. We're all one. We're all connected, and it really is. I mean, I'm really honestly saying that, because I won something. I feel like everybody on my LinkedIn, everybody on my Instagram, everybody, that has said, yay, I feel like I've moved all of us together. I feel that with you too, as an artist. You're an artist too. I feel connected to you. I feel like it's a gift for you, not just me, right? That's how I look at it.
That is so true. I was speaking to His name eludes me at the moment, but the idea that we're all part of each other's story, you know, that
Yeah,
now you're part of my story and now I'm part of your story. Absolutely love that.
exactly,
One
exactly.
thing, one thing I did not ask you that I typically ask at the very beginning: what is a typical day like for you?
I get up about 7:30. I meditate. I wake up. I think about the things that I really want to think about. I look at my phone. So I look at my calendar and I see what I got going on today. Like today, okay, I have an interview at noon. I have to talk with my personal assistant at 11. And so those are, and I got to make sure that I go exercise. So I'm out the door probably by 11, sorry, about 8:30, closer to 9, and I'm walking 2 miles every day. I'm supposed to add more weights back in, but I'm not doing that. I'm lazy. Um, and then I kind of start my day. I just start looking at what needs to be addressed. So it's going to get a little more intense. I think I have to get a little more organized, but I keep a calendar. I keep alarms. I let the calendar work for me. It's chaos if you don't. It's chaos if you don't organize. Right now, I'm not in writing mode. I'm more like in production mode. So we're more like I'm preparing for the Grammys, and there's just I have a publicist now in LA that's going to be working with me. She'll be walking me through like these are the pre-parties that we're going to. This is the red carpet that we're going. This is like that kind of stuff. So very nerve-wracking. But very exciting.
That is awesome. I'm a very similar way. The calendar rules my life. The calendar keeps me
Yes.
organized. Yeah.
It's so freeing, isn't it?
It really is.
It
I don't have to
really
worry about it.
is.
Whatever
I
the calendar says,
know.
that's what I'm doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you need to change it, you just do. You just move it around and go, okay, I'm tired. I don't have time for that. Let me do that later or tomorrow or something. Yeah.
Which is also very empowering.
Exactly. Exactly.
Glenda, I am running a little short on time, but one thing I like to do whenever I'm speaking with someone, I like to give them the opportunity to talk about a project they're working on, a cause they believe in. So if you'd like to talk more about your music, we didn't get to talk about your books at all. So if you want to
Ah,
talk about any of that, the floor is yours.
okay, thank you. So just to let everyone know, when you go to my website or Amazon or wherever you're going to buy my books or my merchandise or whatever, what I do is I work with One Tree Planted. And so every time somebody purchases something, I know what they're doing. So I can see that they've purchased it. And then I take $1 from what they've purchased and I plant a tree for them. So that's kind of my love right now. Been doing that, and I've got 2 new books called "Own the Goddess Within" and "Soul on Fire," and those are 2 separate books. And oh my goodness, they're basically I mean, my first book is "Courage: Find Your Fire and Ignite Action in Your Life," and that's kind of let me start with that. That's my journey. It's also gives people a step by step, like this is how you look at things. This is how you can do it. Just within questions, within questioning oneself, and then you get to make your own answers. But the whole focus is around clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and community. So those are the key things in that book. This next 2 books, they're real simple. They're ebooks. They're like $4, $2. I don't know, super super affordable, and it just goes into creating conditions that like support and uplift yourself. So like talks about ritual. What's ritual for you? How to take care of yourself, and just creating a daily foundation, I guess, for yourself. Same with Soul on Fire. And then they're just fun, easy books, like little tiny workbooks. And then I'm in conversation right now with a possible retreat that we're going to do over in the UK. I'm excited about that. And I have a 1-hour performance. It's a multimedia hybrid immersive experience with me for an hour. So we talk about all those things. Everybody gets a journal. Everybody sits down and gets immersed in the visuals and the audio, and then I come out and I sing and we interact, and it's going to be really fun. I'm in development of that right now, so that's what I'm doing.
And I don't know if you said this, when is that immersive experience happening? Has that been decided yet?
It has not been decided. There's a few missing pieces, so some 2025. That's we're looking at that probably more towards the spring. Not summer, staying away from summer, going to be retreats in the spring, I think.
Awesome. So I'll make sure I get all those links from you. I'll put them in the show notes. They'll go on the website. They'll be all over the place. So when people are looking to find information about you, they can easily find that.
Great. That's awesome.
Glenda, it's been absolutely awesome having you on Time to Discuss. We learned what it's like to be a Grammy nominated musician.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.